Hey there, welcome back to Uncomplicate Your Business, a weekly show where I share how you can keep things simple and strategic to design a successful business on your terms. I'm your host, Rachel Cook, business growth strategist for women entrepreneurs, and I'm so excited, which I realize I say every single week, I'm so excited about today's episode because this is such a challenge for so many of the women entrepreneurs that I'm working with and that I speak to on a regular basis. So let me ask you something. What happens when you have to jump on the phone with a consult call for a potential client? What happens for you? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel like you don't really know what to say, or you're not really sure how this call should go? Do you feel really stressed out that, they're going to say no, or they're going to have a lot of questions? Do you find yourself kind of bumbling over your words when it comes to describing what you do and how you serve? If that sounds familiar to you, then you're in luck because that's exactly what we are going to be talking about on today's episode of Uncomplicate Your Business. Today, we are talking all about how to get those free calls converting to paying clients. This is such an important topic, no matter what stage of business you are in, because it is one of the most powerful ways you can enroll clients into your business. Doesn't matter if you are a coach or a yoga teacher or a trainer, or you have a services-based business of any type. If you are offering higher end products, programs, and services, you need to know what to do when you get on the phone with somebody for that free call. So today I want to walk you through some of the essentials of a free coaching call that actually converts into paying clients. So I know that if you're like me, when I first got started in my business, I was so scared to get on the phone with potential clients. I was so nervous. I didn't want to come off as sleazy or spammy or like a hardcore high pressure salesperson. And at the same time, I needed those clients to say yes, and I didn't know what to expect. And as a result, I really had to stumble through this process quite a few times before I understood what goes into a great free consult call. So if you haven't listened to any of the other parts in this series of the whole month of March, I've been sharing strategies to help you get more clients, specifically more one-to-one clients in your services-based business. You might want to make sure you check through everything on my Facebook page this month. But today, we're honing in on the call. We're honing in on the free consult call. So when it comes to consult calls, and the reason I love them so much is because high touch always wins over high tech. And when I'm talking high touch versus high tech, here's what I mean. High touch is a more personal connection with somebody. It's where you can actually speak one-to-one with your potential client. And you can even have high touch in a one-to-many way. For example, this is pretty high touch for an online way to connect with you. Not only are you getting the content, so the words that I'm saying, but you're also seeing me, seeing my face, seeing who I am, you're hearing my voice, and that brings us a little bit closer together, more closely than, let's just say, a written blog post. So high tech tends to be where most of the one-to-many is in the world. So for a lot of us, if we're trying to sell in a more high-tech way, we are doing a lot of online marketing. We're sending people to sales pages and landing pages, and there's no real personal connection. So whenever I'm talking with my clients, especially those who are needing to enroll people into their products, programs, and services, I always think about this, the importance of high touch over high tech, because for so many of us, especially when you're in the startup stages of your business, or you simply don't have a big audience, you don't have a huge email list, you don't have a huge social media following, you need to know how to enroll people. And high touch is always going to outperform high tech for those who are just getting started or who simply don't have a large audience. And the conversion rates on this speak for themselves. So I have seen brand new coaches, consultants, trainers, service providers they will see as much as a 25% conversion rate. So 4 people get on a free consult call with them and 1 will become a new client. Those are amazing, amazing numbers. And this only happens in high touch. You'll rarely hear of anybody in a high tech, more online launch, so doing like webinars or a challenge, get up to a 25% conversion rate. In fact, average for those high tech online style launches is going to be closer to 1 to 2%. Might get higher if they're really, really good, but that is the industry average. So why is this so crucial for you to like really say yes to? It's all about working smarter, not harder. If you don't have a huge audience, you don't have a huge list, and you don't have, some sort of online marketing machine behind your business, simply getting on the phone can help you quickly start enrolling those clients and bringing that cash flow into your business. So what's the challenge that I see for so many people? And some of you have already said this. Andy says, I'm confident with some of it, but not all of it. So that is exactly where so many of us get trapped, where we get stuck when it comes to having those free consult calls, is we don't know how to have those calls without feeling like we're pushy or like a sleazy salesperson. So today we want to talk about how these calls really fit into your customer journey. And if you've followed me for a while, if you've taken any of my master classes, you might have heard me talk about the customer journey a lot because it's such an important part of understanding how your marketing and your sales and your customer experience should all fit together seamlessly. So often, I find that people, because they don't understand the customer journey, they invite people onto these free calls before they're actually ready. And what happens when you invite people onto these calls before they're actually ready is they're not ready to make a buying decision, and it becomes a really, really big challenge trying to get those people to say yes to working with you. So we don't want you to be frustrated because you have people who are not quite ready getting on the phone. So here's 5 reasons. We're going to talk about 5 reasons that most of these free calls aren't converting into paying clients. The first reason I see quite often is there is no solid agenda, and then the call goes off the rails. So you might have had this happen to you. You jump on the phone with a new potential client, and a few minutes in, you realize, okay, they've taken over the conversation. And suddenly you're having a hard time redirecting them back into the points you wanted to hit, the questions you wanted to ask, and you can't steer the conversation anymore because they've completely taken over. And in this exact situation, what's happened is now the roles are reversed. Instead of you being in the driver's seat and you interviewing a new potential client, they are now interviewing you. So you want to provide value during a complimentary call, during a free consult, but it should not be a free-for-all brain-picking session. If you've ever had this happen where the call is going off the rails and they're just asking question after question after question of you, so they're trying to basically get as much free advice as they possibly can, that person will likely not become a great client. So you need to remember they're coming to you for a reason. They need your expertise and they need your experience. They need real support. And the only way to know what kind of support they need, the only way to really understand what the true problem is that they are facing, is for you to control the call, for you to have an agenda for the call. And the first part of that agenda is for you to understand what their current situation is and then where they're trying to go. So I teach all of my clients inside of our Get More Clients program how to set up their call agenda so they can get the most important pieces of information so that when you do give them that value, you do give them that piece of advice, that first step or what you think they should do next, it's actually aligned with what they truly, truly need. Now, you have to remember, this isn't about them getting as much free content from you, free advice from you as possible. This call should be about how you can best serve them, helping them get that one next step, that one recommendation of what they should do next. And if what they should do next is hire someone or work with someone, you now have the opportunity to do that. And if it's not a fit, you also have an opportunity to say that as well. So this is the first mistake I see, not having an agenda, and then the call completely goes off the rails. This leads us to the second part. When you give away too much information. So like I mentioned, it should not be a free-for-all brain picking session, but this is how these free calls often end up going. And I get it. We are heart-centered entrepreneurs. Our instinct is to just give. We want to be of service. We want to be incredibly helpful. But the challenge of giving so much when the session becomes that free-for-all brain picking is they actually wrap up that call feeling like, I got all that I need. All my questions are answered. I'm good now. And that wasn't exactly the point of the call. The point of the call wasn't to solve all their problems. And in fact, you and I know that you can't actually solve all their problems in like a 20-minute free consult call. That's not actually solving their problems. What you end up doing is solving the symptoms. And because they don't understand, often they don't understand the difference between the symptoms of their problem and the underlying problem, when you've let them treat this session like a free-for-all brain picking session, they leave feeling like their problem's solved. And you know, you're sitting there going, but that's not actually the problem. That's not actually going to help you very long. You've kind of put a Band-Aid on their situation. So you want to make sure that you're guiding this call again, and you're asking them questions. You're asking them questions to make sure you understand where they are, where they need to be, and helping them to understand the difference between the symptoms they might be experiencing. The symptoms are why they got on the call. The symptoms are why they're looking for help. But you need to start to help them understand the gap between the symptoms and the actual problem. And if you can help them start to see that, then they'll see, oh, I'm going to need some additional support to get to where I actually want to go. So your goal here is to educate them between where they are and where they want to be, and let them know the symptom they're experiencing is totally common, and you see it all the time for people who are trying to get to that point B. But here are all the other pieces of the puzzle they need to be aware of. So it's an educational gap that we need to fall. If they don't understand the difference between the symptom and the actual problem, the root cause of the problem, they'll assume they have all they need to solve it on their own, and you won't have that paying client. So you want to make sure that there's a clear understanding, again, in that information gap between where they are, where they want to be, and all the challenges that they're facing and will face on their journey between point A and point B. Okay, the next area that actually holds back so many people, especially if you are in this coaching world, a lot of health coaches, wellness coaches, life coaches, relationship coaches, parenting coaches, everybody's hosting free sessions, right? Well, the challenge is it can feel like a bait and switch if people don't know the point of the free session. They think they're getting a chance to just talk to you for free, and they have no idea that a pitch is coming, that an offer is coming at the end of that call, which means it's not really a free coaching call. It is a sales call. And that can feel really tricky, right? On the other side of the call, on the other side of the phone or the video screen or the coffee table, it can feel like a bait and switch. Like, oh, I thought I was just getting some free time with you. I didn't realize you were going to pitch me this big program or this big service. So this is one reason why it's so important to talk to the right people who are at the right stage of that customer journey. And I'm going to bring up the customer journey one more time, because if they haven't gone through the first few stages of the customer journey, the attract, engage, and especially the nurture, if they haven't gotten to the nurture stage, where they've gotten to know you, where they've gotten to know your business, where they've gotten to know where you're an expert, they've gotten to know who you are and what you're about and how you help people, then you're going to have to do a lot of hardcore selling in order to get them ready for the invitation. So you have to make sure that they're actually in the right stage. They know enough about who you are and how you work. Okay. And it's also important to set expectations about this. So this is one reason I actually don't love to call these calls free consult calls. And I often teach many of my students to not just offer them as their freebie on their website, because they end up getting people who are not ready to take action and they're not great potential clients yet. They need to warm those people up. So what do we do instead? We turn it into an invitation call. We put an application in front of the call. So once you do this, you make these free calls by invitation only, suddenly you make sure that people are at the right stage of the customer journey. You get some information up front and you know whether or not they're ready to take action. So one of the best ways to screen potential clients is to put an application for the free consult, or even an application directly on the sales page for your programs and your services. That way they know already, okay, I had to apply for this. This is legit. And here's what I'm applying for. They get clearer expectations about what that call is going to be. In fact, whenever I have a free consult with a potential, let's say a one-on-one coaching client, they've actually reviewed an entire invitation page that lays out, here's how I work, here's what my one-on-one coaching program looks like. I even say, here's the price point, because I want to make sure that they know the purpose of this call. The purpose of this call to me is, are you a fit? Can I serve you? Can I help you? And are we going to move forward in working together? So those applications can be a huge, huge time saver, energy saver, sanity saver when it comes to making sure that you have the right person on the call to work with you. Okay. Another question that comes up, or another challenge that comes up, is sticker shock. They experience sticker shock when you get on a call and you don't know exactly how it works. You don't know what they do. And even if they aren't super educated yet, so you haven't gone through this nurture process previously with them, they don't know how you work, what you do, they don't know maybe your industry very well, it can feel like real sticker shock when they hear a number of what your service costs, what your program costs, and they have no frame of reference. So there's really nothing worse than getting on the phone with someone who you're enjoying the conversation, you're having a great call, and you tell them what the cost is to work together, and they say, ooh, that is too expensive. Chances are, if you're hearing it's too expensive on these free calls, it's because they don't know what to expect. They don't have a frame of reference, and they don't understand the value of what your work provides. So that doesn't mean that, they're necessarily out there price shopping you. They might be. Sometimes you'll get somebody who's like, I'm looking for a coach and I'm talking to 2 or 3 people. I never have a problem with that because I always want them to find the best fit. But if they don't have a general idea of what this should cost, then they get on the phone with you and the budget is just not realistic for what they think it should be, or what you do is such a higher level than what they expect. They don't know the difference between, your level of expertise and maybe somebody who's just getting started. Is now you have to educate them on why it is that way, why your pricing is this way. So positioning the value of what you offer is essential. This is a big piece of the marketing puzzle, right? And I always go into this assuming that my potential client hasn't worked with someone like me in the past, which means the burden of my positioning, of the value of my work, it is on me. My job before they get to the call is to show them my work is worth it, to show them I can get the results. So I have to understand what would help me position the value of what I do. And I can do that through having testimonials on that invitation page, having case studies on that invitation page, showing them my work, having great content that helps them get those small wins and helps reinforce that, hey, I can get you the results you're looking for. And I also have to understand what they have spent previously to solve this problem. So I have to have an understanding of what are the potential alternatives they could be looking at. Understanding all of this positioning related to how I price my products, programs, and services, it helps me to ask the right questions. It helps me to understand where they are on this journey, and it ensures that my potential clients see the value in what I offer, and they're not thinking this is too expensive. They're thinking this is going to be worth every penny if I can get results like that, right? Huge mindset shift. The final challenge here that I see a lot on these free calls is it feels like a hard sell. It feels like a hard sell instead of matchmaking. So you might have had this experience getting on a phone call with somebody if you're looking for a service provider. Maybe you're looking for someone to take new photographs for you. You're looking for a new website designer. You're looking for a new virtual assistant. You're looking for maybe a year ago or so, a new Facebook ads manager. My number one pet peeve when it comes to hiring a service provider is when I can't figure out in advance how they work, what price range we're talking about, or what to expect going into the free consult. It's basically like the only way you can get that information is if you can get on the call with me. I usually know that those types of calls are going to be a little bit more of a hard sell because nothing was given to me in advance. I had no way of knowing what to expect in advance. So this is really uncomfortable as a potential client, not really knowing what to expect, not having any frame of reference for pricing, not having any idea of how this works, of how you work, of what the process is going to look like. It makes it very uncomfortable. And as you go into higher priced services, higher priced coaching packages, higher priced offerings, it starts to feel like you get on that call and you're being pressured into making an uneducated decision. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have on a couple different calls, and it was a total turnoff for me. That is not how I want to sell. And I'm sure that if you're listening to me right now, you might be feeling that same way. Like you don't want to ever make somebody feel like you're pressuring them or putting them on the spot or forcing them to make a decision they're not quite ready to make yet, right? So consider this. You have to consider the buying habits and the way people make decisions. Before my husband and I do anything, before we invest any money in anything, we take a while to think about it, right? Like before we bought our minivan, we took time to review minivans. We took time to research. We took time to price shop and figure out, well, what is everything we want in that, about what is our budget for this? How much can we spend per month on this? Like we took our time to figure all of that out. And because the information was available, it was easy for us a few months down the road to say yes to a rather large purchase. And amazingly enough, there are services I have paid for that cost just as much as a brand new minivan. So for me not to have the opportunity to do that research as the buyer really makes me stressed out because I don't want to go into there feeling pressured, right? So there comes a point where your services shouldn't be impulse purchases for your clients. If you're expecting someone to get on the phone with you in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, making a decision on all new information they have not had before on something that's several thousand, $5,000, $10,000, you're treating it like an impulse purchase. And that's really uncomfortable for your dream clients. So no matter what kind of service provider you are, I know you want your clients to feel confident. I know you want them to feel comfortable, and I know you want them to feel excited. Like they should be at the point where they already had enough time and information to make a decision. So when they're getting on the call with you, it's not really even a sales conversation. It's more of a confirmation that yes, we are a fit. Yes, you get what I'm going through. Yes, I truly think you can help me. You want them to feel excited and you want them to feel like they're making a good investment. So when your client doesn't feel like they're making an educated decision, you often find clients who start to feel unsure. They start to feel some buyer's remorse. And then starting that relationship is more complicated, right? The odds are stacked against you. Now you're in a position of You have to prove your worth again and again and again before you even really had the opportunity to get started. It's kind of like, they come every single session now like, oh God, I just invested all of this. You better be worth it. No one wants to feel that way, right? So it's much easier to convert that client when they've already gotten to know, like, and trust you. They're familiar with your work. They have an understanding of how you work, what you do, the results you get. They have an understanding of kind of the process you take people through. And yes, this means you're going to do a lot more work before they get on the phone with you. You got to think through, how am I showcasing my experience? How am I showcasing my expertise? How am I delivering value in advance? It's often going to be through free content like this show that I do each and every week, right? Like, I'm delivering value in advance of ever asking anybody to work with me. But the biggest plus to this shift of, I'm going to make sure that I'm building a relationship that you know, like, and trust me, is now it's not a hard sell. And that is absolutely huge for me. It's not a hard sell, it's matchmaking. It's jumping on the call with a potential client, making sure I understand where they are, where they want to be. I'm confirming, yes, I can support you with this, and here's how we move forward. We're both excited because we both came to it as equals with great information about what we're trying to get out of this relationship. It truly becomes a win-win. So if it's now a matchmaking call, it's an opportunity to make sure that everybody leaves the call happy. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. If you've been loving this entire series for Get More Clients March, I would love to hear your feedback on this. We also have distributed this over on my website at rachelcook.com. It's over on the podcast, Uncomplicate Your Business. You can check it out on iTunes. It's been distributed pretty much everywhere so that you guys can catch up on this Get More Clients series. And if you know that you want more, you want to learn more about this process I've been hinting at that I teach my students, then you might want to check out the Get More Clients Masterclass, how to get more clients and fill your calendar stat. In this masterclass, I'm sharing with you the exact 7-step process I've used for nearly a decade now to generate over 6 figures in private coaching and consulting, and I've taught to hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs. This masterclass is absolutely free. And I know that if you've been liking the series, you will absolutely love this masterclass. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Uncomplicate Your Business. Next month, we have a whole new series of content coming your way. I can't wait to kick it off. And until then, I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll see you next week. Take care.